And so it turned out that it looked like we were about to uncover Popov's mole. Now, Popov's mole, we'll talk about Popov himself. He was a Soviet intelligence guy, which is their GRU, Soviet military intelligence, had defected and told the CIA.
Defected to the CIA.
Yes, what he had been, but eventually, towards the end, not the beginning, he defected in '52, early '52, and it wasn't until, yeah, that's right. So it wasn't until much later, like in 1958, April, that he told George Kieswalter, his case officer, that there was a high echelon mole in the CIA that had access to the technical details of the U-2 program, the secret U.S. spy plane that flies up at 52,000 feet. And so that mole had never been discovered. Popov's mole had never been discovered, 70 years out. And so we started looking at it, and all my guys that work with me and gals, I got Heather Fear. She was a great asset too. Alan Dale, Jay Harvey. There was a number of people that were actually telling me, you need to stop arguing Big Eden for a minute. You need to take a time out, and you need a separate book for this. I resisted for a while, but then I realized they were right, and so that's how Popov's mole came about. I identified who the mole was after 70 years, who had never been caught, never been found.
How certain are you that you're correct about who the mole was?
Okay. At the end of the book, in Popov's Mole, is a chapter called, we'll hold it up here. This is the book. At the end of the book, there's a whole chapter called Provenance, Authenticity, and multiple attestation. And I took every piece of an evidentiary hierarchy that I used for a hypothesis that the mole was Bruce Sully and vetted it in terms of that methodology. And so every piece of that evidentiary hierarchy has not one, not two, but usually 3, 4, or 5 independent sources. And so at the end of the day, and the thing that was most powerful that came late, I did not know until 4 or 5 months to go. I'd already gone to Ancestry and done a workup on Sully, but I hadn't really noticed until that point in time that his travel records were going to have to be really important, because a high echelon mole has to travel. They can't talk face to face in the open. Mm-hmm. They have to talk face to face in a secret place. And if they do anything else, like try and send a message or encryption is broken both ways. The CIA and the FBI could read each other's stuff periodically here or there. And the same thing with secret writing can be intercepted. The only way that somebody who's at the top of a spy service who's going to the other side is they got to travel. And either he's got to travel over there to Moscow, or Moscow's got to send people to him. And I found the travel records, and they were astounding, because a high echelon mole in the CIA is not even going to be activated unless the top person in the KGB decides to do it, because you might lose your eyes and ears at the top of the enemy service. And so it was a big decision to use him, and he was used at a very important time. It was a crisis. A war had started in the Middle East with both French and British troops in the Suez Canal, and that was when Eisenhower decided to send the U-2s over the Soviet Union, not just Eastern Europe. Anyway, that's how those travel. Because we're going to talk about that. That's another subject. But to finish your question, that was the icing on the cake. When I put his boots on the ground in the middle of these operations, and he personally had to travel over to the Soviet Union, not to the Soviet Union, excuse me, but close to it in Eastern Europe, where Popov had been stationed in Berlin and in Vienna to dig up dirt on him because Khrushchev wanted the technical details of the U-2. We'll get to that. Anyway, I'll stop there. Those were, I had 5 or 6 or 7 very powerful pieces of evidence from independent sources that gave me this answer. And so there was no doubt in my mind. I called it a hypothesis, but so I like to leave it to other people. You can read the book and you can decide, but you're going to have to look at the evidence. And some people don't want to read the book because they know that it's going to be convincing, and they missed it. And a lot of people who love reading my books and for years, sometimes as you go along, they don't like me so much because I admitted I was wrong about Angleton, and they don't want to be wrong about Angleton. So the problem is that good investigative work, whether it's crime or astrophysics or chemistry, goes through all these mistakes that have to be made till you finally get a solution. And you just have to. It's a part of what you do is to say this was wrong, and it's not a cause for being concerned. You can break out some scotch and say it's time to celebrate. We're that much closer to where we want to be. Well, a lot of people that are on this case don't like it. They've got their Colonel Mustard with a wrench in the library thing, and that's it. They're done, and they don't want to hear. So progressively over the years, I've lost people that liked what I was doing, but it's what I do. And so, but I'm absolutely certain that Popov's mole was in fact Sully, but in the all the trouble we went to write that book, we knew that there was a lot more. There were so many leads. We were in a place nobody's ever been before, by the way. It changes everything. That the top of the CIA and the CIA, MI6, the British version of their CIA, and also the French intelligence services was just riddled
with Soviet spies.
Yeah, that all the Western spy services were owned by Moscow Center. It changes everything. You've got to go back and look at all the stuff I was writing before, and I'm still looking at things. But what we're finding is there were more moles, and the fact that you have Sully by the short and curlies, that means we can now find out somebody else, like the guy Sully's boss. We can get to him later.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a big deal.